I've been playing with sound since 1995. And this is Plum. I started out on my parents' dinosaur Hewlett-Packard desktop computer, which had the worst possible mic. But it was enough, I guess, to get me interested in sound and production on some level, at least. And this is Plum. Then I took a detour to Texas and sang with dirtbag rock and roll bands in Austin, including Namesayers and Lord Buffalo. And I moved to Denver in 2020, and I got interested in modular synths in 2023. So I wanted to make a video here at the 1 year mark talking about Plum, my system here. What it is, what it does, why it is what it is. I hope if you're just getting into modular and you see this, that this video helps demystify this format a little bit and maybe clarify your thinking about Plum, what you want to do. Let's get into it. So people get into modular synths for all kinds of reasons, all potentially valid and all potentially totally interesting. And here I'm thinking of things like ambient music, generative music. In my case, I wanted something that was a drum and bass machine with other weird noises that could churn out bangers, because I'm interested in snappy pop music. And I knew I wanted something portable. So maybe that's the first thing to notice here. This machine is built into a Halliburton Zero aluminum briefcase. Here's the lid. That's what that looks like. That's where I started. It was my first purchase. But there was a reason I was looking for briefcases, briefcase-sized cases for a synth. After playing in bands for a very long time, where I had to carry around a lot of heavy gear, including a Fender Twin for years, I really wanted to design a way of making music that was portable, where I could just basically get on a plane, put the system in its briefcase in an overhead bin even, and head somewhere and do a show. Okay, so off the bat, I want to say that this whole system is posted on Modular Grid. And Modular Grid, for those of you who don't know, is a website where you can plan out a whole system in advance without buying anything. But it's also just a way to visualize and share a system with others. So I'm not going to remove all these cables so you can see everything clearly here in this video. But if you want to get into the details of every single thing I have here, go to Modular Grid and you can see it all piece by piece. And I want to say that Modular Grid was a really important tool for me getting into this format. You need to be able to plan. And that combined with, like I told you, my 20 plus years of DIYing music and figuring out what it is I like and what it is I want to do, that's what allowed me to get into modular and really create a system that does what I want it to do quickly. I had most of this in 3 months and all of it in 6. So yeah, planning is really important. I mean, far be it from me to tell you not to just start buying random modules and experimenting. That's valuable too. I mean, drive fast, take chances, do whatever you want to do. But it's not going to be the most efficient way to get you to an instrument that's playable and usable and doing what you want to do. So my 2 cents on that. Overall, I've really preferred modules that do a lot with a small footprint. So a multi-effects module rather than a separate reverb and delay module, a multi-filter module that's has got a whole lot of options, the MS-22, multi-drum voice. So in general, you can see that I've chosen things that do a lot with a small footprint. And that's great and makes the system very powerful, but it's certainly not the most ergonomic way to do things. So the trade-off is I've had to do things like what you see with my chords here, tie them down, tie them out of the way, get them out of the way so I can actually access the knobs next to them. And that's limiting in its own way, because one of the beautiful things about modular is you can take things out, try new things, and tying down cables and making it feel more committed definitely makes it harder to pull things out and try new things. But I certainly can. It just takes a little more effort, and at the point where I want to do that, I will. So yeah, I don't know what this routing looks like to you, but to me, it's like a beautiful painting. It took me a long time to get to this point of like having the right lengths of cables to like be able to do this and route things. And there's still areas where like I have to move cables out of the way to access a knob, but this feels like an acceptable level of chaos to me. So expect some level of chaos. That's part of the beauty of modular synths. Okay, so in general, I think of this machine as having 4 quadrants, and it's by no means broken out cleanly into quarters or anything like that. But it does 4 primary functions, and those are drum stuff, bass stuff, melodic, this like chattery voice, which I'll get into and demonstrate in a minute, and then effects and the controls for those effects. I have a hard reset patched in to the bottom right arcade button. So this red cable here comes over here to Metropolix, where a hard reset is available. And when I press that, it brings me back to the 1. So if I'm playing a show and for some reason something gets off, as you know, often happens, like it's a living system, you can get off by a beat or off by 4 or whatever, I always have available a hard reset, which will bring me back to the 1, so I can get back on top of whatever rhythm I'm doing, whatever song I'm doing, and know where I'm at. So I have just kind of subconsciously trained myself to like grab that before I do anything else. So step 1, reset, and then I'll start it playing. You're going to hear the kick and the bass line. Right? So you've got Metropolix playing that bass line. I'll turn that down. And now you're just getting the kick. Turn that off. And back on. Bring the bass line back up. Let's bring in the snare. With VPME QD, I've got the QEX expansion, which allows, if you set it up correctly, it allows for fills. Check this out. Let's add the hi-hat. Similarly, I can do fills. And then that 4th voice I have is actually, I think, a breakbeat. Let's check it out. Yeah. So because this is a sampler, I've loaded in an entire like drum roll as that 4th voice. And I can also do fills with it. Over here with Euclidean circles. This rhythm you're hearing, this drum rhythm you're hearing is a preset. So if I change to another preset, so let's take out a couple of those voices. Take out the snare too. Turn down the bass a little bit. So I mentioned a chattery melodic voice earlier. So what I have happening is twin waves sending out a derivation of that same bass line. And that derivation is going through an LFO here, which gives it, I have it set to do a certain speed and to randomize the wave. So let me bring that up so you can hear it. hear how it harmonically follows what the bass is doing, but it's also got this randomness to it because of the xylophone. It's subdividing it. It's also going through this wave folder and effects over here. So a lot's happening to that chattery melodic voice, but I can turn up the intensity of that. I also have that and the bass line going through this RNF, this dual RNF, rise and fall. So listen to the chattery voice, make the notes longer. So with just subtle gestures, I can change the feel of it significantly. You can do the same with the bass line. Make it very long. Sometimes you want it. Now, that melodic voice is going through a couple of effects modules. One of them is being the FX8 multi-effects module is being controlled by this joystick, this flame joystick. I love this thing. It's so small and so powerful. And it has a mode where it can remember your gestures. I don't want to get into that too much, but it's pretty cool. So I'll use the joystick to control that chattery voice. And off. And that's a hold button to hold it in the off position. So yeah. And that long swooshing delay is being dictated by this. My wave folder can change its timbre. I also have this, I will post the link to this Etsy store. I don't remember it off the top of my head, I'm sorry, but they make brilliant stuff. It gives you more options with 0 HP, so bringing your controls up off the board. So with the flip of that switch, I've routed that chattery melodic voice through the Mystic Circuits and the 2. And now I'm controlling what it's doing up here. I love this thing, it's so creative. It's basically a sound fucker opera. I've also got this arcade button patched in to freeze that voice. Maybe the last thing I'll highlight is this Instro Tan H3. I'm using it as sort of a final stage to give color to everything because, I don't know, it's not compression exactly, but it is filling a bit the same role, sort of giving some cohesion to all the sounds that come through the system. So that's the final step that everything goes through before it goes into the mixer and is controlled here to send out of the system. So that's a quick rundown. Alright, I hope this has been helpful. We went an inch deep and maybe a foot wide, but hopefully this has given you at least a feel for one way to start thinking about one.